we had the text in which we hear Jesus saying, "You are the light of the world." And I commented then that Jesus wasn't saying, "Be the light of the world." It wasn't an imperative. It wasn't indicative. Simply indicating what is fact. And maybe that made you feel better. Mark Oldenburg, in the preaching commentary of Sundays and Seasons, points out that we've had 2 Sundays of the indicative, meaning God has done this. But this week, we begin to read the imperative part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Do this. And we've plunged right into words that have made people uncomfortable for generations. It's as if Jesus knows the lives of all people intimately. After all, we all get angry sometimes, and we insult people sometimes. Sometimes people accuse us. Sometimes we're drawn to others even though we're in a committed relationship. Some of us have been divorced. Most of all, we know what it's like to be prickly, to feel in competition against each other, to feel a real need to judge each other. Our culture teaches us that what is most important is to win, to succeed, and sometimes to discount others in our attempts to succeed. And Jesus is making us feel here as though we just can't be good enough in his eyes, even though we try to be better than or competing against others. It's a little like my favorite Baby Blues cartoon. I think I've shared it before many years ago. Where the 2 kids, Zoe and Hammy, are sitting in the back seat of the car while their parents are driving them somewhere. Both kids are in their seat belts on opposite sides of the back seat. When Zoe proclaims to Hammy, pointing her index finger in his direction, "I'm not touching you." Hammy responds, also pointing, "I'm not touching you either." But Zoe, not satisfied, escalates the issue a few minutes later. "I'm still not touching you," she says with pride, egging him on. He falls for the bait. "I'm still not touching you either," he responds. Zoe continues to provoke him for her own reasons. "I'm not touching you way closer than you're not touching me," she says. "No, you're not," Hammy responds. And the dialogue falls apart from there, with "yes, I am," "no, you're not," being exchanged several times. Finally, the father, who's also driving, says with exasperation, you two, stop not touching each other." And of course, you know what happens from there. The 2 have been given permission, and soon they are actively hitting each other. "Ow, he hit me," Zoe is soon saying. "Did not," Hammy responds. Does that sound familiar? I know it does to me. I know it from my own experience growing up, but also the experiences of my daughters and the experiences Harry has shared with me of taunting his sister as he was growing up. Call it boredom or just perverseness, but we know it well. As we hear Jesus talking to the crowd, he's pointing out how people have been keeping the 10 Commandments and other laws according to the letter of the law, but not its spirit. Can't you just see people, as we do ourselves, saying, "You shall not murder"? Check. "You shall not commit adultery"? Check. "Whoever divorces his wife should give her a certificate of divorce"? Check. "You shall not swear falsely"? Check. Like Zoe and Hammy, we who check off these laws are not touching each other. But are we really not touching each other? To Jesus' way of thinking, Zoe and Hammy's gleeful "I'm not touching you" introduces the deeper question, but are you being provocative in other ways? Martin Luther sounds modern when he introduces a holistic aspect of the commandment to not kill. He says, "You shall not kill, therefore," is equivalent to saying, "You may find as many ways to kill as you have organs. You may use your hand, your tongue, your heart. You may use signs and gestures. You may use your eyes to look at someone sourly or to begrudge him his life. You may even use your ears if you do not like to hear him mentioned. All this is included in killing. There's no way that we're let off the hook. We can't make ourselves better by checking off the ways in which we comply with the letter of the law. No, we can neither be ruled completely by the law nor disregard it entirely. So what does Jesus seem to be saying in these very important verses? It seems to me that Jesus is directing us away from the law itself, whereby we're always looking to see how we measure up, and instead, he's directing us to look at other people. Really see each other, he seems to be saying. Don't congratulate yourselves that you haven't technically caused someone's death. Instead, look at all the little ways you diminish someone and cause him or her to feel just a little less alive. Don't look at someone with lust, because it reduces that person to body parts rather than the totality of his or her being. Don't lightly divorce your wife. Divorce at the time was the province of men, for there are consequences for the future. Many theologians see Jesus' words as protecting the status of women at the time, who might otherwise have been thrown away like yesterday's garbage. And finally, don't swear, as for example, Quakers won't, because you didn't create and have no ownership over heaven, earth, your life, or any part of your body. Jesus was referring to expressions like, upon my life, or by George, and the name George is obviously substituted for the name of God. Quakers who take this prohibition very seriously will not even swear upon the Bible in the court of law. Instead, they have simple permission just to say yes or no. But what is, for many, the most disturbing thing about this text is Jesus mentioned hell. The Jewish annotated New Testament explains that the word we read as hell is the Greek word Gehenna, based on the Hebrew word Ben-Hinnom, or Gehenna. And it was a valley south of Jerusalem associated with child sacrifice. In antiquity, the purpose of child or any sacrifice was to create a scapegoat, to place the sins on that one and drive them away or kill them, in order to bring the peace and unity in the community. Lambs and other animals were still offered as temple sacrifices in Jesus' time. But here is where the indicative part of last Sunday's text helps us. Jesus says, "Do not think that I've come to abolish the law or the prophets, or in effect to demand holiness. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill." Jesus himself fulfills the demands of the law. No more sacrifices needed to bring a temporary peace to the community. You have heard that it was said, but I say to you, he says. He seems to be upping the ante here, so that we may recognize through his exaggeration that any thought of achieving righteousness by ourselves is laughable. Rick Watson points out, the Gospel of Matthew, of course, was written after Christ's resurrection. So it is the crucified and risen Christ speaking these words, "You have heard, but I say." Matthew shows us, after this great set-piece sermon, the cross, resurrection, and commission. The demands from the mount are met on another mount, one on which a cross stands. And here's where being part of a liturgical tradition also helps us. Our liturgy is ancient, and the placing of parts of the service is more than accidental. Jesus says, so when you're offering your gift at the altar of sacrifice, which takes on a different meaning, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, Leave your gift there before the altar and go. First, be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come offer the gift. Jesus is reminding people that Jews are required to seek peace with their neighbors before reconciliation with God is possible. In our time, I can almost imagine people placing an offering in the offering plate, then saying, "Oh, wait," and taking it out until they can clear up unresolved relationship issues. Instead, through the liturgy, we confess our sins. Then we receive absolution, a spoken forgiveness of God. And then we share the peace with each other. I know it might be easy sometimes to forget why we do that. It's not just so that we might say hi to everyone who's not able to stay for coffee hour afterwards. It's more radical than that. We're actually participating in a ritual of reconciliation with others. We say, "Peace be with you," or "the peace of the Lord," because we are making peace with the friends with whom we worship. They are also the body of Christ. Afterward, we receive the offering. Then when we gather for communion, we discern the body of Christ in two ways. The bread itself, we call the bread of heaven, Christ's own self, and the whole body of Christ, part of the universal church in a continuous line through time and space. Sarah Miles, the eloquent writer and layperson who serves on the staff of St. Gregory of Nyssa Church in San Francisco, shares a story that I think will resonate with all of us in her book, Jesus Freak. She tells it this way. "Just breathe," people would say sometimes, trying to calm me down. It was kind of annoying. Who could forget to breathe? But I could easily forget the peace I'd passed just breathing to Zoe or to Jim, and instead find myself overwhelmed by what I imagined were the demands of love. There was a tradition at St. Gregory's among the people who led worship on Sundays. Before the service, even before we began to arrange chairs and get the oil lamps lit, we'd gather in the seating area and pray. "Blessed be God the Word," we'd chant, "who came to his own, and his own received him not, for in this way God glorifies the stranger." Out of the corner of my eye, I'd see one more person I didn't want to deal with, heading toward our group with a determined look. "There's a man asking for spare change outside," or "I can't find the key to the back gate," or "Hey, do we have any Band-Aids?" "Oh God," we'd finish, "show us your image in all who come here today, that we may welcome them and you." But I didn't want to see Jesus in every parishioner, the whiny woman who complained endlessly about the music, or the sullen, depressive guy who was rude to visitors. I didn't want to welcome him in every single visitor either. I got so crabby about the way clergy in particular presumed I'd always be available and overflowing with generous attention. Once after church, after 2 services and 18 conversations, after we'd finished washing the dishes from coffee hour and I'd given the last crumbs of communion bread to the birds, after I answered the last questions from curious youth visiting youth groups and listened to the last unhappy member confess the wreck of her home life, I went and found my colleague and priest, Paul, who was cleaning up the Sunday school room. "Aren't we even allowed to have lunch?" I asked. "Enough, church. Your boyfriend Jesus is wearing me out. I cannot deal with one more human being." "What about the French place?" said Paul. "The cafe down the street served great, salty, crisp fries. I couldn't wait to sit down and order a hamburger." At the corner, 2 homeless men, deep in conversation, passed us by. One was bearded, wearing a filthy down jacket, and he looked up and nodded at us. "Hi, Sarah," he said. I don't know that guy, I said. Paul shot me a glance. God's messing around with you, he said. God didn't need me to take care of everybody or to radiate sweetness all the time. God didn't need my ridiculous, overdeveloped conscience. God just needed me to recognize Jesus whenever he showed up and said hi. Jesus is the fulfillment of the law and prophets, and he shows up among us, whether we always like it or not, helping us to care for each other.